All right, it is 7:04, and I will call to order the December 9th, 2020 meeting of the Weare Conservation Commission. Having present uh, all members except one, um, myself, Steve Nager, uh, Bill Bolton, Lori Davis, and Mike Camacho. This is a combination Zoom and physical presence meeting in the town office building meeting room. And we have a few things on agenda that Naomi's provided to us. There's been a little bit of email correspondence that has not made the agenda, and we have some substantial undertaking, or we have a substantial undertaking that that we need to move forward on here at the end of the year. And I guess right up front, as we do have a guest and prospective member with us, let's test out the microphone at the podium and have Mr. I believe it's LeMay come up and introduce himself to the commission. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Ray LeMay. I own HS&G Erosion Control. So we are heavily involved in environmental issues in our business. And I feel that I can bring a little bit of knowledge to the Conservation Commission on some occasions, hopefully. So I live on River Road. I've lived in this area all my life, and that's about all I got to say.
I'm not sure whether, can you hear me, Ray?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Have you ever been involved with a town commission or board or body like this before, or elsewhere, or in Ware?
Nope.
And have you followed any of the meetings that we've had to this point over the last few years, or is this sort of a square one start for you?
I haven't been to any of the meetings physically. I just follow any correspondence that I can see that's, public information, whatnot. But pretty much this is the first time I've been to a physical meeting.
Well, we appreciate your interest. We have 6 full members at this point with a vacancy, so that's good. Any particular concerns or interests or pet projects that you would bring forward to the commission and like to join the group to further engage, or if not, that's fine also.
No projects or anything, but over the years I've noticed, I don't know how to say it, but there are places that were probably developed that shouldn't have been. And I feel that because nobody really maybe had the knowledge of soils, the engineers probably fooled you. So I feel that I could keep an eye on that sort of thing if I was on the Conservation Commission.
And Ray, how would you characterize that? Would it be excessively steep soils or particular types of soils that maybe ought to be given a little bit or should have been given additional consideration prior to going forward with development?
Well, it had to do with steepness and runoff, and the engineering people didn't put that on their observations and their plans, and their test pits were, I never said or did anything about it, but the test pits weren't completely accurate. Houses were built there. Septic systems failed within 10 months. It's just unfortunate that the people that bought those houses have to live with those conditions now. So I feel that if I was on the board and the Conservation Commission keeps an eye on that sort of thing, I assume they do. Maybe we could straighten some of these things. It doesn't happen often.
Right,
I
right.
see
But
it enough every day where engineers are a little overzealous because the developer is pressuring them. And if nobody checks on that, if nobody knows about soils and how everything works, well, it's easy to say on the plan, this is the way it is, and everybody accepts it. But then somebody has to live with that.
right. What background do you come from professionally? Engineering, earth sciences, other natural sciences? Uh, what?
Mostly experience. I'm
ex-
60 now. I
Awesome.
started doing environmental work when I was in my teens. Um, I've changed a lot of the state specs on highway work, the way it's done, how it's done, materials we use. We experiment a lot with Profile Products in North Carolina that supplies our materials for our business. We do a lot of test plots. So it's more practical experience. I got in a conversation with an engineer once who was trying to tell me how to do something. And I basically asked him some pointed questions and pointed out that it's people like me that actually write the book on a lot of environmental compliance things, because we do it every day, all day long. We know what works, what doesn't. And I asked him when he took his course to get his certification if the professor wrote the book. Professor said no, he didn't write the book. And I said, well, you opened the book and you studied the book and you interpreted the book, but somebody had to come up with that information to put in the book. And that's generally people like me, because I'm very serious about my business. So I take it very seriously. And I guess to answer your question, I never went to UNH or studied any of it, but I've been doing it all my life. So there's not very much that somebody can pull over my eyes when it comes to this.
Well, there's no beating the School of Hard Knocks and the experience, and glad that you're interested in applying that, helping out the town in our advisory capacity and the um, interface we have with primarily the planning board. Not so much with zoning. They've got their concerns that are a little bit unique, and very important. So a lot of what you speak of has bearing on what we do, and then a lot of it would also go towards um, other folks' purview within town governance and town committee work. Any other thoughts or questions for Ray?
I don't have any.
If you did, I'd be glad to hear the answers or the questions.
I think he'd be a great addition.
Thanks, Lori. I know you mentioned you've been in the area. How long have you lived in town, Ray?
All my life.
That's long enough. Plenty. Good for you. Thank you for your interest. Understand you'll have an application that you'll need to fill out and email to me, and I'll need to evaluate it and sign off to send that in to Naomi.
Andy, he's left it here with me. I'll scan it and send it in the morning.
All right, that's moving right along. Thank you, Ray.
All right, thank you.
Now, I understand Ray's not strictly speaking a guest, or at least not for long, which is fine, which is good, desirable. I understand we have another body in the audience. Could we, as is our habit, take the interest or concern from our guest right up front and center?
How you doing? It's Mark Phillips.
Hi, Mark.
Just wanted to update you on the bridge that we're working on, that is
Excellent.
completed on the Woods property.
Sounds good. Let's hear it.
Well, it's completed.
That's it. Okay.
We went ahead. It's a 30-foot bridge over that small stream, but we completed it last week.
Do you have a photo you could share and send along if we don't have something to share right now?
I do have a photo.
He's got a photo on his cell phone, so I'm not sure how. Yeah, that's gonna be tough.
Just send it to Naomi's email.
Mark, he said he could send it to my email and I'll share it with all you.
That'd be great. Hopefully there'll be some more of this white stuff so that it can be used and appropriately enjoyed.
Yeah, we hope so. That's all I have.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Mark.
Quick question, Andy. So was that bridge bank to bank and avoid the whole trails notification, or did they have to use the trails notification process? Because I don't think we signed anything for that. I don't know if the selectmen did.
Steve, I can help you out. So it was bank to bank, but the selectmen did sign a trails notification permit that went to the state, and the Snowmobile Club paid the fee.
Okay. Yeah, I think it would have been nice to get us in the loop that they were doing that. Probably for our file.
Right, I have a copy I can gladly give you because we kept a copy that we sent to the state, but the selectman as the landowner signed it.
Okay, sounds good. Is that I'm trying to think, is Woods Town Forest?
I believe it is, or conservation, I don't remember, one of the two.
I think it is Town Forest. At some point, I know there was a thing from LGC discussing like who actually makes the management decisions on a town forest, and I feel like we don't have that straight with the Board of Selectmen. The LGC was kind of insinuating that it was actually the Conservation Commission. I think this came up with that maybe with the bear baiting permit. Might be, when we get together, maybe in person, or I don't know how long we're gonna have to do it this way, but maybe worth just getting, a review of that legal review, because it seems like we should be on the same page on who gets to authorize what, because we're practically the board that actually manages the forests. Understanding that obviously we're all part of the town and there's kind of a hierarchy, but that legal discussion really said that when it becomes a town forest, essentially the selectmen don't actually manage it.
No, I think when it comes to the town forest, the only way you can spend money on it is the entire community gets to vote on it. As far as landowners, selectmen still own the land, conservation doesn't own the land.
Yeah, we'll have to get, I
But we can
think I emailed that review out a while back, but
We can get together at some point.
yeah, sounds good. But it's good that they did that anyhow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that, the sort of pondering could be helped with including us as simply as a CC, at least when something like that comes in or goes in, that we are kept in the loop, even if we are not signatory to it. It just helps the understanding. I don't think we have a I don't know, a more meaningful purpose than to be appropriate stewards of the lands that are in our custody in some form. So if we err on the side of including folks in the discussion, including the commission in these decisions by the Board of Selectmen, I think it can only help us. Some others might feel different, just my 2 cents on that. So thank you, Naomi, and hope that we keep the airwaves open.
Andy,
sometime.
this is
Go
Bill.
ahead, Bill.
Um, The president of the Weare Winter Wanderers was supposed to have, and I think he did, email you and explain that the only reason they went to the selectmen was to not have to wait 30 days for a meeting here. And if he didn't do it, he needs to be scolded.
Well,
you-
if we're gonna hand out scolding, you might as well start with me, because there are too many emails that come
Okay.
to my email that just
Yeah.
I don't see because there's so much junk that comes through. So I understand it. That could be the case, and I think we just go with the reminders.
Yeah.
It may well be the case that was done.
Okay, well, that was the intent, and it was just to try and get things rolling, was to save, the 30-day wait for a conservation meeting. There was a selectmen's meeting within just a few days, well, within 5 days of our last meeting here, or whenever that deal started. But I will advise that group to just send it to Weare Conservation, which I bet he sent it directly to you. And I think I asked him to do that so that all the members got it, but in the future, that will certainly change on behalf of the snowmobile club.
Well, I think this has all been, you know, handled many times over. So I think we're in good shape, and I think we've learned things as a commission. The club's learned things, and we I think we're in a decent place. I don't feel any angst over where we're at, but just we'll always appeal for sometimes adding folks onto the communication, even if it isn't strictly requisite. Thank you. That sounds good. Now, with that, we'll jump into the agenda if that's all right with everyone. We have minutes that were prepared for last month's meeting. Any comments or thoughts on those, or anybody have a motion regarding the minutes?
Make a motion to accept as written.
Second,
So we got Steve's motion, Lori's second, if I heard right.
correct.
I will ask for any other thoughts on the minutes. Pause. There being none, all in favor of approval, please say aye.
Don't you have to do roll call because we're on the Zoom?
Yeah, I'll take the voice and then we'll roll into a roll call. So all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Now, we have, I'll do the roll call here. Steve,
Yep.
Mike,
Yes.
Andy, yes. Bill,
Yes.
and Lori.
Yes.
All right. Little clunky there, but I'll get us back on track. Thank you. We're all set with the minutes. Now, what else we have going on tonight? I can look at the right document here. This nifty thing called the agenda. There we go. Now, we have a planning board item. Naomi did, let me look at my downloads here before I ask you. We have 2 sheets. Yep. PDF was forwarded to us. This is the Frank Burrell subdivision, Rockland Road, Route 77, map 202, lot 94. 2-page plat. And I need to zoom. Where am I?
Andy, just to let you know that this PDF was scanned in our place, because if you look at the date, it was submitted in July of this year, and he's came in and it's been continued since then. So if you try to, it was since we asked them for PDFs.
Sure. So
So-
it's a little grainy, but not bad.
Okay.
But finding my control key, I can roll over and have a look at it here.
Okay.
Purpose of the plan to depict a 2-lot subdivision. Owner Frank and Nancy Burrell. In the rural ag and commercial zones. Portion of the site is within the special flood hazard zone and aquifer protection district. Both lots already serviced by on-site wells and septic. No current use. We have note 8, buffer of native vegetation shall be maintained within 25 feet. Good to see that. 25 feet of all jurisdictional wetlands. driveway permit was approved by DOT in 2017. A variance from the town of Weare zoning will be required prior to installation of the proposed driveway due to buffer impact. And a dredge and fill will be required.
Where'd that email come from, do you know?
So Steve, Kelly had this plan in the big size, and so she scanned it through our copier here to make this size that you have.
No, no, I mean, I'm literally looking for the email itself. I know I already looked at it once, but it just, so was that from Kelly or from you?
No,
Yep.
I sent it with the package of the agenda, the minutes, the letter from the wetlands, and this was in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I had a question on, is that 4K box within the 75-foot setback from that wetland there? I really couldn't, I had a hard time telling just looking at it.
That would be on the new building lot.
Yeah, so that's the septic system. It's got to be 75 feet from the wetland, I believe. I'm not sure if it is or not. I couldn't really tell.
And that on the second plat shows 75 feet from the proposed well. If I'm looking at the right thing, it looks like it's also within the side buffer. Or the side of the lot, which is kind of curious. Has anybody found who designated wetlands here? Oh, the certification. No, that's not about wetlands. Oh, there we go. Wetlands were delineated by Spencer Tate of Meridian in August 2017. It would be a little more clear if we had a stamp on it. Naomi, do you know when this goes to planning board?
It's my understanding that he's coming back for Thursday, but it's been continued so many times, I really don't know if it's
Right.
gonna be asked one more time.
Yeah, I seem to recall it been kicking around for a while, if it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it is.
You know, on that first plan, so you see what I'm talking about on that 4K box and then the limit of delineated wetland, that's got to be within.
Well, right, if that's 25 off, you're probably about 60 at most. Unless we got two lines there. The inner one is a wetland and next one is a buffer. No, it might be 75.
No, on the first one, isn't like that limited of delineated wetland, isn't that right on the line? And he's not even showing the buffer right there?
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong box. That's horrible. What I see the 4K area, yeah.
And then right below it says limit of delineated wetlands, so it doesn't even show the. Oh, I see. Are there all these other squiggles? You got wetland, okay, so you got wetland. Wetland buffer cuts right across the 4K box, so there's no way it's 75 feet from the wetland.
I think they're showing a 50-foot setback. Is that for the building, maybe?
Oh, is that what that other
I
line
think
is in
the
there? It's not
second
labeled?
line is probably a 50-foot building setback from the wetland. So the 4K would be, if I'm looking at this right, outside of the wetland, but crossing over into the 50-foot building setback, yeah, if you look up by the northeast part of the plan, it's a little bit clearer which line is which.
Yeah, I'm following the buffer line down. And then there's the next line over, which is looks like another 25 feet, right?
Correct.
So that 50-foot line as it hooks around through the 4K buffer is still 50 feet within that limit of delineated wetland that's due south on the map. I'm not sure if that's oriented north-south.
And
So it
you're,
would
all
not-
right, so I got you. So you're saying that the 4K area should be at least 75 feet away from the wetland?
Per state law, so that's not even an option. I think our ordinance might be the same.
I see what you're saying, yeah. It's, yeah, the fit, it, well, I fit, that, sort of, I don't know how to quite describe it. Almost looks like some sort of shoe in there.
We'll see that
Well,
other
the
line.
shoehorn there is a building envelope, right? That's what we're presuming. So could you have a building, Steve, within or just outside of 50 feet from the wetlands, but you couldn't have your septic there?
Septic 75.
Yeah, I think you got your finger on something there.
I believe that's state law, not our ordinance. I think ours is 25 from a wetland, isn't it? Or is it 50? I forget what the setback line is.
Not sure.
But if that is a 50-foot line, and then they don't have 75 feet there.
So we're making a list of comments to pass along to Craig. So the 4K box looks to be inside the 75-foot wetland setback, state setback.
Yeah, if that's still what it is, I'm just gonna try to look it up.
Yeah. What else? Looking for wetland scientist stamp. Any other points to pass along to the planning board? There's also, of course, you want to keep your septic outside of flood zone. And looks like that was attempted. That was done. I can't tell where the mentioned aquifer zone or area would be, but probably approximates the flood zone line, perhaps. Not sure. Anybody know what the dread properties are there? Owned by the state?
No.
Andy, I think those dread properties, or if you go down 77, to the right-hand side is the swamp and left-hand side, then you come down to River Road. It's the swamp.
Yeah,
But swamp on both sides.
the marshy areas, looks like
Yeah.
fairly deep marsh with
Yeah. Those are the
beaver,
dread
beaver activity that gets pulled out once in a while to try to keep the water from piling up too high.
Yeah, those are the dread properties. Either side of the road.
Okay, so that's where That's where I would hypothesize, that at one time, the Kentucky River flowed through there when it was held up by ice off to the north and couldn't go out the channel it has now.
Good
Interesting.
reference.
Okay.
Okay, so on the septic setback, I just came up with, it's got to do with if it's very poorly drained wetlands, it's 75 feet, and if they're 50 feet from wetlands having poorly drained soil. So I don't know if that's still the current RSA. It's like 485 something or other. 485-A.
Okay. That's something the planning board sort out.
Yeah.
And it sounds like there can be a determination based on the, not just being jurisdictional wetland, but what type of wetland soil it is.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. I gotta turn the camera off so I can go swat a cat here. Let's see if I can get back where I belong. He doesn't need any camera time. I'll be right back. Hold on.
Gotta love Zoom meetings.
All right, we're back. You never know what you run into. Any other comments on the plans? Still trying to get to the main event. Okay, back to the agenda we go. We have a letter of notice of acceptance of shoreline permit application, Russell Drive. Unless somebody has something on that, I will just note without comment. Everybody okay? Moving on. And let's hear a consideration of next year's conservation warrant articles.
Andy, last year, Article 22 said 25,000 for the forester, and Article 23 said 150 for the purchase of new town forest land.
So I suspect we'd stay the same for the town forester, but change the second one.
I think last year accidentally got changed to 25 because of the year before, because I've got the draft that I had written was for 30. That's just an up to amount. Cut and paste from the year before was what actually ended up happening.
That happened before it got to,
When it got to the selectmen, it got printed.
so you would suggest that 30 would be a more appropriate number?
Yeah, as an up to amount. Yeah, and then the next article is going to be a little more complicated to find out how we handle that.
And Steve, what would the up to 30 allow us to do that we haven't done at up to 25?
We're into updating our forest management planning
right.
cycle
Yep.
that we've been punting on for a couple of years now.
Good
So
point.
we've got pretty major updates, maybe use some new technology, you know, as far as maybe a little bit of imagery, that sort of thing. We've actually, just for everyone's, I went ahead and got the financial information, just so you know where we're at. I backed myself out of there. Hang on for a second. So we're doing really well financially from our forest management activities. And we have currently, so in the town forest account for December, there's $320,567. So we've been doing real well, you know, with the management.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So it's not like, you know, costs go up. We've got this planning cycle. I would just rather have the up to authorization higher. It's not saying that we're going to spend it. And I think we just need to explain that. It's not like, because I think the confusion when I initially tried this 2 years ago, someone took it as the forestry, the town forester was getting a raise of $5,000, which isn't at all the case.
So that was actually changed, not last year, but the year before that, I believe.
It was, but I think last year got cut and pasted from the year before.
Correct. So
So that-
we sort of cemented in that, actually, I think even Sherry might have said she was the one who suggested sticking with 25 instead of going to the 30. There was an apology that came after the fact that it was misunderstood, if I recall correctly.
Right. So I mean, if everyone's good with it, like to, you know.
This is Bill. I would think that you would just put together a simple little note or letter, whatnot, to explain to, where does it go, to the selectmen to set the deal, is just put your reasoning in there, so that it isn't misconstrued as just giving him a raise.
Makes sense.
The other thing is, Andy, DRA disallows an up to words. You have to put an amount. So you have to put 30,000. If you don't use it, you don't use it, but you can't use the words up to. They take that out.
Since when?
They've done that a couple years in a row now.
Okay.
So you can use 30,000. If you use 25, use 25. It's just, that's what you're taxed on. So if you
Yeah, last year the articles,
Nobody's taxed
it didn't
on.
say up to.
right, it can't say up to. DRA takes it apart.
Yeah, it didn't say up to. What I'm just saying that, you know, for the meeting here, that it's up to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's an amount that you're authorized to spend. I think that's the more correct way of saying it.
Andy, were you commenting there that it's not appropriated from tax funds? Is that what you're going for there?
It is not, does not result in general fund taxation.
There's no tax impact.
Right, there's no
That's
tax
okay.
impact, but every article that's set up to, is my point was that they took all the up tos out. So if you're up to $50,000 on a separate article that would have been taxation, if you spend 40, you get taxed for 40, not 50. They don't like up to, and I don't know why. They've taken out all the up tos. So if we just put in one amount and tell them what you want and go from there.
Is there a way to word the article so that that is clear? I'm just thinking from the last year's vote, Article 23 had a no vote close to 600 and a yes vote at 972. And I think if the voters knew that their taxes weren't going to increase by this article, maybe there'd be a higher turnout for a yes vote.
It should say there is
Well,
no
I think what
tax
it is,
impact to
Mike,
it.
if you don't mind, is the selectmen put out a mailer,
Mhm.
and the purpose is the same that we've always put, and it says the sum of 150 If no land becomes available, the money remains in the account. I suppose we could just put that, and then the finance recommended it 12-1 with the article is funded out of the town forest account and has no tax impact. So that goes out to the residents, but again, when you're behind the curtain, if you haven't read the mailer, some people just vote no.
Yep, understood.
Thanks, Mike, for covering that, and making sure that we're being explicit in our discussion tonight. Steve, are you working towards a motion?
Yeah, I just emailed everybody's last year. So the last year is the one that I had written. So the warrant, the number one on the one that the Word document I just emailed out is, I believe, correct, but I can go ahead and read it. I just emailed it to everybody. And here's how it reads. Shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $30,000 to allow the Conservation Commission to secure contracted services with a licensed forester for forestry services, including plan updates, harvest layout, harvest management, forest inventory, invasive species control, and other related services, and to allow the conservation to contract or purchase materials or services for the maintenance and upkeep of town forest, and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of the sum from the town forest account. So I think that one is written correctly. It has an amount and it's pretty well all encompassing.
Sounds good. Do we have a second on that?
Second.
Thank you, Lori. Any other concerns? Please state them now. There being none, I will seek a roll call vote on this motion. Steve,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Andy, yes. All right. We're all in favor. And Steve, did you include Naomi on that email?
No, I just sent it to conservation. Sorry.
Would you please send that directly to Naomi?
Yep.
And on the one that might be a little more complicated.
Okay. So this is probably a question for Naomi more than us. We have a potential purchase that we might move forward on tonight, at least want to discuss. So we don't know really what the balance is going to look like in the forestry account. So so right now, if we took 30, after that first motion, there's a balance of 290 in the forest account. That balance after January 1st could be 290 or it could be 140, like the motion, the warrant article from last year authorized 150. So let's just say, if we spent the whole 150, we'd have 140. But if we don't make a purchase, then we have 290. So how do we, in the event we don't make a purchase and encumber the funds, like we don't really know right now, this minute, how do we deal with that?
Wow, that's a good question.
So you're going to attempt, I know you asked about going into non-public later, which that's all by means you can do that. Yeah, because you only got a couple weeks to work with to even get a P&S. And what I explained in the email, I think you all saw it, is if you get a signed P&S, then I have a piece of paper to document that we can encumber this year's money.
Yeah.
And that P&S signature would be incumbent upon the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So ideally, at the end of tonight's Conservation Commission, if we choose to move forward we probably want to get on the Board of Selectmen's agenda for Monday night.
Non-public though, right, Steve?
Um,
Would it still, would it still be
I mean,
public?
what's our sensitivity level on this? I know typically we'd like to go non-public, but is it,
moderate,
it's moderate, yeah.
moderate, yeah. Yeah, the land's gonna get sold one way or the other. Just don't want to end up in a bidding war.
Yeah, nothing's solid until the PNS is in hand.
That's right.
But the appraisal you guys just did, is that public information?
Mm.
I believe it is. You paid for it, right, out of the conservation fund?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how you handle that. If there's anything under state law. I mean, we've never been asked that question in years past.
Well, it's been all through your minutes that you hired an appraiser for that property and it's even been listed, so.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha. Well, we'll hope for the best anyhow.
Yep, we can always do that.
So let's say that we don't make a purchase, but we don't know. Like, so the
Well,
selectmen, when can they change the numbers?
Exactly, that's what we need to know.
The numbers for the warrant articles?
Yeah,
You can even change it up to the day of deliberative session, which is February 6th.
oh, perfect.
You can do it on the floor though, Steve. You have to be there.
Okay, but when can they, can they change it after January 1st? Because we'll know if we don't have a signed
Yeah,
PNS.
because we are accepting petitions until January 12th.
Okay, so they can change it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's
So-
go forward with the presumption for now that we have, we are able to secure the PNS and the funding for purchase at appraised value, taking into consideration any closing fees that we might need to consider also.
we'll have to discuss that in non-public.
Yeah,
I would take into account using the entire warrant article and that would leave 140 for next year.
you want to move that along as a draft 140?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion for, I'm gonna go ahead and read this out from last year, just changing the number. So shall the town raise and appropriate the sum of $140,000 for the Conservation Commission expenditure towards the purchase of new town forest land and fund this appropriation by authorizing the withdrawal of that sum from the town forest account.
That's pretty much to the point. Any comments or concerns from members or the administrator?
You need to have a second to your motion.
Second,
With the motion duly seconded by, made by Steve Nager, seconded by Lori Davis. Any concerns, questions, comments? There being none, I will call the vote by roll. Steve,
Yes,
Mike,
Yes.
Lori,
yes.
Bill,
Yes,
Andy, yes. So that's all in favor. Thank you, Steve.
okay, I'd like to make one more motion, just because our meeting won't occur until the second week of January.
Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we, in the event that we don't have a signed purchase and sale for acquisition of town forest land using the 2020 warrant article, that we, the Conservation Commission, request that the Board of Selectmen change the dollar amount to $290,000 on the town forest a second warrant article to allow us to acquire, additional town forest land.
All right, Steve's made a motion. Does somebody have a second?
Second,
That sounds like Lori. Thank you. There being a motion duly made and seconded. I'd ask you, Naomi, would that sort of language cover the eventuality in suitable fashion as we will meet again, at least by schedule, let's see, after January 12th. So that would be our next meeting, January 13th, 2021. Does that sound,
I think it still would be relative to us being able to change it because, as I said, I have to wait until, as long as you made the decision that evening, because the public hearing on the budget and the warrant articles are January 18th. So we have time just taking the
Mhm.
computer and making that change if it does fall through.
well, by Steve's motion now, we're trying to say that we wouldn't need to consider further at the January 13th meeting. So that we would have an automatic fallback if the potential purchase falls through.
Sure. I mean, I think that's a fine thing to do. I think that's the right thing to do. I'll be here.
Trying to be proactive there. And not get all the eggs in one basket. Any comments, thoughts from the commission members? I'll hold off on a vote until Bill's back.
Yeah, he had to take a phone call. Sorry.
Understood, yeah.
But while we have a second, do we need any motion at all to put an offer in for the appraised value, or was that covered last meeting?
That's why we're gonna go non-public.
Okay.
While we're waiting, Steve, have you ever heard a moose calling about in the woods of Weare?
I've heard him calling. I can't say, where, but usually during the rut, you hear him calling like in October.
So I think from here on Hemlock Drive, I heard one very end of October, very beginning of November.
Yeah, that's about right.
It was the oddest sound. It was way out of place until it occurred to me that, well, maybe that could be. And it was in the evening. There was no reason to think it was a human sound, and it was off in the direction of a pretty good chunk of woods. Once it dawned on me, it's like, wait a minute, I haven't seen track for a long time, but boy, I bet that's what that is. Pretty neat.
Hey,
Yeah,
Bill,
they're around.
Yep,
Bill's back, Andy.
very good. We have a motion made and seconded. This is a fallback position on the second warrant article. In the case that we're not able to secure a P&S as desired, then we'd have additional funds made available by the town body, that's town forest funds for next year. Changing the amount of 140 to 290 as a contingency. Anybody, now you're back, Bill, any comments or thoughts before we go to vote on it?
Yeah, this is kind of for Naomi as much as you, Andy, but do we need to go and explain this at at a select board, or do we depend on Naomi to do this?
I presume that we would want to be available to answer questions at the appropriate time when these articles are being considered by selectmen.
Yeah, I would think that that would be,
And then most definitely also presence, oh boy, see how this will go. How the deliberative will go this year, boy. Some form of presence for that.
Depending on how our last discussion goes, you know, I'd probably like to go to the Board of Selectmen meeting in person on Monday if we can, or at least if I can, or whoever wants to, just to explain, you know, essentially both, more so the proposed purchase, but then you might as well just cover the warrant articles at the same time.
That sounds like a right reasonable thing to do, even getting a little bit, at least offering the opportunity to the selectmen to have a discussion beforehand. Any other thoughts? There being none, I'll call a vote. All in favor, and hold on, I'll call you by name, of approving the motion duly authorized and forwarded and seconded. We'll answer by saying yes. Steve,
Yes.
Bill,
yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andy is a yes also. So all in favor of that third motion.
Andy, I just wanted to add, just let Steve know, I am not available Monday. I would go if I was, but I've made plans this afternoon to meet up with some folks, Monday night.
Thanks for weighing in, Bill. All right, we have, let me see if I can click on the right thing here. We have addressed the item, agenda items. And so we move on to other items prior to adjournment.
Andy,
Go right
this
ahead,
is
Lori.
Lori.
Yep.
Down on Buxton School Road, the southwest end next to Francis Town Road, there's property up for sale, about 25 to 40 acres. And they are interested in selling and not getting it developed. If somebody would like to look into that.
Good to know. Do you personally know anything about the property, Lori? Nature of it, proximity. to
Water,
other
horses,
properties?
lots of hills and streams. It's beautiful. The deer walk around there a lot. The people that hike around my area mentioned it to me. Several of the residents have indicated I should bring it to the Conservation Committee. So this is my bringing it to us.
Great. It doesn't sound like anything that's on the market, right?
It's just been surveyed, but the sign is not out for sale yet. But all the survey markers are up there.
Okay. But it is, so then let me rephrase. Will it or will it not be put on the market?
It will be, but they would rather see it stay undeveloped and go somewhere that, to somebody who's not going to develop it. And when asked how they felt about the Conservation Commission possibly calling them, there was not any pushback. They were open to that.
Okay.
And
Thanks
I
for-
did not do the approaching, one of the other neighbors did before they ever told me about it.
you want to send the cell phone, I mean, a phone number or something, or an address or some kind of contact information, I'd be happy to give them a call.
Okay, thanks, Steve.
That would be great, Steve. Well, those are some good, that's a good item to consider. Anything else? While I'm waiting for you, I'm just gonna take a peek at email and refresh my memory of some of the other things, management and otherwise that are going on.
I got a couple quick ones,
Go ahead.
all interrelated. We keep hearing from Haley Nace from PLC about ATVs being out on Eastman. And she kind of followed up, I got Kevin Bronson, who's our conservation officer, let him know, talk to him. That's like the end of it for us. I mean, there's signs up there. It's just, fishing game's got to go, have the time to go catch someone unless we know exact details or, where someone's coming from. So that's kind of documented via email that Fish and Game was notified. She knows that. And then we had the other email about from Karen Roy, and that sounded, I talked to her today. It sounds like it's not on Eastman, but maybe it is. And I asked if she could get a GPS or something more accurate, because it sounds like it's on the far side of that big wetland that used to be the Kentucky River and the railroad tracks. But there's like a mix of private land, and then it runs into our land, and then it runs into Henniker up in there. So without like a real accurate GPS or something to drop on a map, I mean, I don't mind walking out there in the middle of the winter or whatever when I'm not busy, but ATVs probably aren't going to be there in a couple feet of snow. There was something about painted trees along a trail or something, but don't really know. It could be a blaze line. Who knows what they're looking at? So just kind of talked to her today, waiting for a GPS point, and then kind of go from there.
That's what I'm guilty on. I just found that email now. So thank you, Steve, for paying good attention to these things and following up as best we can.
Yeah, it's good that good that people are kind of contacting us. Maybe in the new year we ought to think about something like that town complaint form where maybe we could ask people or lead them in the direction of an accurate description of where whatever's going on conservation land, maybe suggest that they give us a GPS. And,
yeah.
Instead of just, a generic description is kind of hard sometimes.
Is that something that would be made available on the website?
Yeah, the town has like a form, if you have like a zoning complaint or something like that. So yeah, just a spin off of that,
Yeah, put that form online. Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you get those GPS the location there, I can head out. I don't mind that. I can take pictures if there's something to see.
Yeah, cool. I'll get in touch with you when I get them, Mike, and we can head up there or something.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Anybody have anything else? Pause just a moment for reflection and comment.
So we're going to go non-public now.
Hold on. At the end of that pause, Naomi, I need to make sure that Mike is getting included on the broadcast email to conservation at Weare. Could you double check that he's included on it, or
Mike,
Steve just sent out an email to the conservation email. I did not receive it. I don't think I've ever received something in that group email. A lot of times the email spelled with an O, so it's MCAMACHO 3.14, @gmail.com. So maybe the period's missing. It's probably just a minor thing, but I haven't been receiving any emails.
Oh, to piggyback on your statement, Mike, this is Lori, and I haven't received Steve's email either.
It bounced.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it was something about I don't, sometimes when I think because I'm on that mail list, maybe what happened, I don't know. I'll send it to everybody's address now.
So, Mike, why don't you email Naomi directly?
Yep.
And Naomi, please double check and make whatever corrections needed to have Mike included on that.
So Andy, I have one thing, if
Yeah.
if you allow me. So last month, I believe in your minutes, Steve had mentioned to ask Laura in regards to policies and guidelines. So I sent Laura out the question and I got an answer back. It said, yes, the Conservation Commission, in quote, manages and controls, end quote, conservation properties, which means that they can adopt regulations regarding the use of those properties as long as the regulations are consistent with their powers under RSA 36-A:4. That's all it says. Let me know if I can do anything more. So,
Just yeah, send that one off
Sure.
to all of us,
Yep.
please, Naomi.
yeah.
That's helpful. If we did anything like that, of course, we'd run it by her before posting it anyhow, in the selectmen, but good to know.
Looks like the other, no, here's one. Steve, would you just briefly comment on the bank's boundary issue?
Oh. So, yeah, I mean, Jeremy found a unmonumented portion of the line. And I think he got a little confused on what I was asking. I'd asked him to call the surveyor of record on the plat to ask him what the deal was and see if they could get out there and take care of it, rather than just us immediately going and paying someone to go out there and take care of it. That's the last I remember on that.
And
That sound
this
about
is
right?
this is a property that has a gravel pit on it.
Yeah. We weren't really involved with the acquisition,
Right.
but apparently it's another one of these deals where not all the monuments got installed.
So Jeremy has that on his to-do list as a consulting service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think we should be paying for these things if they were already paid for by someone. And you would think a surveyor would go out there and fix their mistake.
Right.
The only thing I'll add to that is the survey of record. I just ran into this recently. The survey of record, if was he hired by the town?
I don't know, because we weren't involved with that, but that subdivision
Right,
was.
but Jeremy can't pick up the phone call and just say to the survey of record that usually the person that hired the survey is the one that has to go back and ask the questions.
But we can't even ask them, you don't think? Or?
Well, you can ask questions, but you aren't gonna get them to go out and monument something for.
No, you wouldn't demand any restitution, just
Okay.
ask for an understanding of the situation.
Okay, well, I'm just saying that sometimes they talk to you, sometimes they don't.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
If you weren't the client.
right. But I figure if he calls and asks real nice, and maybe out of the goodness of their heart, they'll fix their mistake just for their, professional reputation.
But to be clear, we're not asking Jeremy to demand anything on behalf of the town.
That's
Right,
right.
but if the town had hired this person, we probably should be the one to reach him.
I don't know, Naomi. Do you know who handled that project? Because we didn't.
I think I know the surveyor, if it's the one that we had done that depicted the gravel pit. Or was it the one next door, which was Mr. Brown's property that we also acquired for the green cemetery?
No, this is The missing monuments are on Banks.
Okay. I mean, I know we did some work with a surveyor, but it had to do with around the gravel pit area. So
Yeah,
it
the-
probably was us.
It might have predated anything that was done for that purchase.
That could very well be too.
Yeah, wouldn't hurt for Jeremy to give him a call and then we'll, pick it back up in the
Yeah.
next meeting or something.
All right, that's what I found with a scan of my imperfect email records. If there's something that came in from an email address I don't recognize, then it probably was not picked up by me. So anybody else have other items that they've noted before we address a non-public issue? That sounds like nobody. So we have a little rigmarole. Take it away, Steve.
I don't have the language in front of me. I don't know if Naomi has it for the, to go non-public.
Yeah, you have to make a motion to enter RSA 91A-3 -A:3 Roman numeral 2, C.
91 -A,
A:3 Roman numeral 2, C.
Roman numeral 2, C.
So moved.
Yeah, I make that motion.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion, and we've got a seconded, and any further thoughts before I take the
You have
roll?
to do a roll call vote, we can go in.
Logistically, anything you have to do there, Naomi?
Yeah, so once you go in, make the roll call vote, just give me a second. we're gonna shut the camera off, but I gotta switch microphones so they can hear you.
And you note the time that we hit non-public?
I did.
Okay. All right, we've got the motion made by Steve, seconded by Lori. If you approve, please
Roll call.
indicate.
You have to do a roll call, Andy.
Right, now I'm getting there.
Okay,
Indicate your approval by saying yes when I call your name. Steve,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Andy is a yes.
are you gonna adjourn after Andy? Are you- Gonna be your last, and then you'll adjourn after you're done?
That would be my understanding.
Okay, all right, I just wanna let everybody know.
So we will not be coming back to public.
Okay. All right, thanks, Andy. Give me 1 second.
Okay.